Some carriers give you so little for your older busted phone, you just end up living with it. I don't think so. Verizon lets you trade in your broken phone for a shiny new one. You break it, we upgrade it.
You dunk it, doggy bone it.
Slam it, wham it, strawberry jam it. We upgrade it.
Get a 5G phone on us with select plans.
Every customer, current, new, or business.
Because everyone deserves better.
And with plans starting at just $35, better costs less than you think.
November 23rd, 2021, coming up on Roland Martin Unfiltered, streaming live on the Black Star Network. The fate of the three white men who hunted down and murdered Ahmaud Arberys is now in the hands of a Georgia jury. We'll talk with one of the Arbery family attorneys, Lee Merritt, right here on the show. A Baltimore County, Maryland police officer gets sentenced to house arrest for the rape of a 22-year-old woman. Y'all won't believe the reason the judge gave for this light-ass sentence. Also, Baltimore State's Attorney Marilyn Mosby goes off on Maryland Governor Larry Hogan, blasting him for his continued criticism against her for the prosecution of violent offenders. We'll show you what she had to say. In St. Louis, mediation keeps a police officer out of jail for shooting a black shoplifting suspect in the back. And speaking of Missouri, after serving 43 years in prison for a crime he did not commit, a Missouri judge has exonerated Kevin Strickland, and tonight he is a free man. And the Republicans try to keep him in jail in that state. A Virginia federal jury has ruled that white supremacists engaged in a conspiracy and were responsible for the attacks at the Unite the Right rally in 2017 in Charlottesville. Now they must pay millions, $25 million. Plus, the 40th annual Bayou Classic is this weekend. We'll talk with the presidents of Southern University and Grambling State University. Also, Meharry Medical College, they are going to be giving $10,000 to each student. We'll tell you about it. Plus, I talked with DNC Chair Jamie Harrison about his job in trying to put the Democrats back in the victory column. In our Marketplace segment, brought to you by Verizon, we'll talk with a former NASA rocket scientist who's making sure kids across the country learn how to code, and her products are now in major stores. Folks, it is time to bring the funk on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Let's go.
He's got it. Whatever the biz, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the find. And when it breaks, he's right on time and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. It's on go, roll, y'all. It's Roland Martin, rolling with Roland now. He's funk, he's fresh, he's real, the best, you know he's Roland Martin now.
All eyes are on Georgia as we await the jury's decision in the trial of the three white men who were charged and on trial for the lynching of Ahmaud Arberys. Today, the prosecution had their rebuttal, and this is what took place in court.
All right, so that brings us to self-defense. All right, I'm just going to go over this quickly. I want you to know what the basics are, the essentials, okay? Because self-defense really applies to the aggravated assault with a shotgun, okay, and the murder charges. So what have we got? One can use lethal force in self-defense, but only under certain circumstances. You can't claim self-defense if you are the unjustified initial aggressor, meaning if you started it. Who started this? It wasn't Ahmaud Arbery. If you're committing a felony against that person, once again, we're back to our convenience store armed robber. He doesn't get to defend himself against the clerk he's robbing. He doesn't get to claim self-defense. He's committing a felony. In this case, they committed 4 different felonies, including the aggravated assault with a shotgun. They started it. They do not get to claim self-defense. And then, of course, provocation. You can't force someone to defend themselves against you, so you get to claim self-defense. This isn't the Wild West. No. So there's 3 instances where the defendants don't get to claim self-defense, and they committed all of them. So once again, initially provokes the use of force against himself with the intent to use such force as an excuse. No Wild West. This is the important one. Cannot commit aggravated assault with a shotgun, with trucks, false imprisonment, or criminal attempt at false imprisonment, any of those. Not justified in using force. If you're doing any of those things, they were doing all 4 of them. And you're not justified in using force if that person was the unjustified aggressor. You can't start it and claim self-defense. And they started this with their driveway decisions. So here's some main concepts. The defendants had to believe the deadly force was necessary. There were no other alternatives. Pointing a shotgun at somebody. There were a whole bunch of other alternatives to that. That belief must be reasonable. And once again, that's reasonable for everybody. That reasonableness applies to you. That reasonableness, there's no special exception for previous training in the Coast Guard or law enforcement. The reasonableness standard in Georgia applies to everyone equally. The danger to yourself has to be imminent, meaning I am about to get killed. Not some guy I've been chasing for 5 minutes is running at me.
Joining us right now is Lee Merritt. He is one of the family attorneys for the Arbery family. Now, Lee, we saw how shameful yesterday was, where you had one of the attorneys make such a heinous comment about the toenails of Ahmaud Arberys that it led Ahmaud Arbery's mother to flee the courtroom. She was so angry and upset. Give us a sense again where we are, in terms of how that family feels about what they have had to listen to from the defense attorneys.
We're used as a community of Black folks, as civil rights attorneys, we're used to defense attorneys villainizing the victim. It's become sort of par for the course from the American jurisprudence. But even with that in mind, what these attorneys have been doing during the course of this trial is unique. Wanda Cooper Jones herself, the grieving mother of Ahmaud Arbery, sat in the back of the classroom and was of the courtroom, and was herself the subject of at least half a dozen different motions about what she was wearing, about sounds that she might make during really emotional parts of the testimony, about people that she brought into the courtroom with her. And then, yesterday during the closing arguments, they drove it all home with personal attacks against Ahmaud, not even racist attacks or purely racist attacks, maybe certainly motivated by racism, but descriptions of his fingernails being dirty, as if he was an animal or some sort of beast that they were describing. It's really been, even for me, and I see it, really bad behavior by the defense counsel.
Of course, the prosecution had a chance to do their rebuttal, and they were quite methodical in destroying the self-defense argument, saying you can't start something and then yell, "Oh, self-defense."
Yeah. No, I think that to match the defense's sort of wild defenses and throwing everything but the kitchen sink at it, the prosecution was methodical, as you pointed out, and said that what they're really claiming when it's said and done is citizens arrest and self-defense. The law doesn't allow them to get citizens arrests because they didn't see a crime taking place or there was no crime in their immediate knowledge. And they don't get self-defense when they're the initial aggressors. You can't start a fight and then say the person who was defending themselves against you caused you to have to fear for your life and have to defend yourself. That's not how the law works.
So what time did the jury break today, or have they broken, and when will they resume tomorrow?
Around 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We have not received notice that they have broken for the day. And so I assume they are still in deliberations.
So they've been deliberating now a little more than 6 hours.
That's correct.
Okay, got it. Got it. Well, it certainly has been a very difficult time to listen for the family, to listen to what, how they have described Ahmaud Arberys somehow as he was this thug who grew up in an awful family and made these awful choices, when the only people who really made the awful choices are the three white men who chose to hunt him down. That's Greg and Travis McMichael, as well as William Roddy Bryant.
Yeah, Wanda is spending this time preparing her victim impact statement, which she's getting a chance to do after these men are convicted. So we're accepting that in advance, and she's really looking forward to that. So a lot of the things that you just pointed out about the personal attacks on her son, the attacks on his upbringing, she's looking forward to responding to in the victim impact statement. All
right, then. Lee Merritt, we really appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Folks, this was the Arbery family speaking outside of the courtroom after today's rebuttal closing arguments.
I think Linda did a fantastic job. I think that she presented the evidence again very well. I do think that we will come back with a guilty verdict. And I want to leave you with this. God has brought us this far, and he's not going to fail us now. Amen. We will get justice for Ahmaud.
That's it.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Wanda.
I'm just giving all glory to God for number one. And what I seen in that courtroom this morning just really was devastating. But I'm just thanking God that God showed us everything, showed us all the evidence that convict these men. And so I know God, like Wanda saying, brought this far to leave us now. So I know we're going to get the verdict on these men. All right, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Let's go to my panel. Matt Manning, civil rights attorney, and Pastor Lee May, Transforming Faith Church, former CEO of DeKalb County, Georgia. Glad to have you both. Matt, you've seen a lot of things happen in courtrooms. Have you ever seen what we witnessed the last couple of days from these defense attorneys?
No, I haven't. And I'm really surprised that they took that tack, considering the law is clearly not on their side. In Texas, as Mr. Merritt alluded to, we call it provoking the difficulty. And here, that's exactly what they did, especially with law enforcement background. You would know that the proper thing to do is call the police if you suspect someone of having committed a crime, not accost them and shoot them like an animal in the street. So I'm surprised the defense attorneys have taken the positions that they have because, you would assume well-meaning people understanding the basic facts would be offended by it. So you're adding insult to injury by dehumanizing him with the language that they've used. I've seen a lot of crazy things and done a lot of crazy things, and I would never have gone remotely that far.
Lee, obviously this has gotten tons of attention there in Georgia. And so many people are just remarking how this is an absolute ploy to appeal to the whiteness of this nearly all-white jury.
Absolutely, man. We helped to organize a prayer vigil of pastors. You were down there. I saw you down there. We had over 500 pastors down there just to pray. And even that simple act, the defense attorneys use that to try and get a mistrial. They're no longer concerned about the truth. They're no longer concerned about what is right. They're concerned about getting their clients off by any means necessary. And I'll tell you what, man, I forced myself to listen to the defense attorneys in their closing presentation, man, and it was tough, bro. It was tough because essentially this is what I got from it. This black boy should have stopped when this white man told him to stop. And because he didn't stop, he got to lose his life. And somehow, some way, that's called self-defense. What is also troubling in this is that if they are successful in getting his clients off, these men that you're showing on the screen right now, if they're successful, we, black folk, people of color, non-white people in America, not just in Georgia, we better watch out, because what you're saying between what has happened with the Rittenhouse case and then, this goes, unfortunately, in that direction, we got to watch out, because vigilantism, and I'm talking about slave era kind of laws, will be common practice, and people will be emboldened to be able to act and do whatever they want to in the name of the law. This law was so bad during our last legislative session, they changed aspects of this law. That's how bad it was and how it led to what we see in this Ahmaud Arbery murder trial. So it's just troubling, man. My heart is heavy. And my prayer as we pray together, these pastors down in Brunswick, is that justice will prevail and there will be some semblance of justice, even though we can never bring Ahmaud back, that their parents can rest at least knowing the system worked on their behalf.
And I just got a couple of text messages. Mark Thompson says they announced the jury they're staying tonight to get this done. So they may, and so far the jury has not asked any questions. They have not even asked to see the video. And so, Matt, when you hear that, sounds to me like this jury is pretty clear as to the direction they're going.
Yeah, but I would say you can't necessarily draw any conclusions from that. Juries do things in their own time, and they may ask for the video later when they get deeper down into it, because one thing they're going to have to do is work through what's called the jury charge, which is where the court gives them the law. And with them having this many charges, there's going to be a lot to work through before they get to that point. But, you know, the juries often ask questions and send notes out and ask for clarification. I would be surprised if they came back with a verdict today. There's so much to wade through. And looking at the evidence, they should come back with a guilty. I just think it will take a little while because they'll want to make sure they're methodical going through all the charges and all the evidence that's presented to them.
All right, then. Gentlemen, hold tight 1 second. I got to go to a break. We come back. We're going to talk about the Kevin Strickland case. 43 years in prison, today exonerated. And Republicans did all they could to keep that man in federal prison. Also, Baltimore State's Attorney Marilyn Mosby is blasting the governor of the governor of Maryland, Larry Hogan. Republicans saying he continues to trash Baltimore and do nothing to actually help the city. We'll also hear from the two presidents of Grambling and Southern University about this weekend's Bayou Classic, as well as Jamie Harrison, the chair of the Democratic National Committee, what he is working on to ensure that Democrats reach out to black voters and speak to their issues and concerns. All of that on today's episode of Roland Martin Unfiltered, right here on the Black Star Network.
Betty is saving big holiday shopping at Amazon, so now she's free to become Bear Hug Betty. Settle in, kids. You'll be there a while. Ooh, where you going?
Hello, everyone. It's Kiara Sheard.
Hey, I'm Taj.
I'm Coco.
And I'm Lily. And we're SWV.
What's up, y'all? It's Ryan Destiny, and you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Folks, Kevin Strickland, this brother has been saying for years, 43 years, he did not commit a crime that landed him on death row there in Missouri. Republicans in that state kept fighting, trying to keep him in prison. A prosecutor reviewed the evidence and said something is amiss here. He did not commit this crime. Didn't matter. They kept fighting and fighting. He wasn't sure that one day he would get released. He wasn't sure that he would ever see freedom. Well, today, a judge granted that exoneration and said Kevin Strickland is indeed a free man. He called in and ordered him to be immediately released. Strickland was convicted in 1978 for the deaths of 21-year-old Larry Ingram, 20-year-old John Walker, and 22-year-old Sherry Black. Again, he said, never thought he would see the day that he would be free.
No, I didn't think this day was going to come. I mean, not before I got this legal team, I didn't. What I was thinking in prison today, before this happened, I was actually watching a soap opera. And it thing went across news break or whatever they call them, and I just couldn't believe what I was hearing.
So that's how you learned?
That's how I learned.
You saw your own name on the screen?
The picture, yes, and then other inmates start hollering.
What is more shameful? Eric Schmidt, who is the Missouri Attorney General, a Republican, disagreed with that prosecutor and fought to keep Strickland in prison. The Republican governor of that state, Mike Parson, did the exact same thing, making it clear that he wouldn't even consider making it a priority to pardon Kevin Strickland. This is the type of thing, Lee, that is grossly offensive, where you have a prosecutor who reviewed the evidence, who said didn't do it. The courts reviewed it and how these Republicans are behaving, and Schmidt is actually running for the United States Senate in Missouri.
I don't know what this show is today, but it's heavy on my heart, brother. You know, my brother over there with the law books behind him, he's a lawyer. He's a student of the law. He practices the law. But, man, I'm a man of faith, and I just believe in the humanity of all people, man. Like, you know, when the law fails us, you know, sometimes we're just looking for people to stand up and say, you know what, right is right, and we're going to do what's right in where people are concerned. And unfortunately, it just seems too frequently, man, that when issues of the law arise, we get the opposite, the tail end of the law. We don't get the benefit of the doubt. We don't get people taking that extra step to do what's right. And this man sat in a Missouri prison for over 40 years, and the man said he was at home watching TV and likely ended up in this place because of the lack of an adequate legal team, or just a jury that didn't care, or a prosecutor that knew that this man wasn't guilty but decided to make sure that their record was straight. And he has had to forfeit 40 plus years of his life. And here's the other thing. He's going to get some money when he leaves, but it will pale in comparison to the freedom that he lost over those years, man.
Actually, he's not going to get any money. Because of how Missouri is very strict when it comes to their compensation. Matt, that right there is even more shameful.
It is, and I think Pastor May was 100% right. This is a case where it's just unequivocal. We should not only take care of this brother, but we should do everything possible to try to, remunerate him for the loss of his life. The reason Missouri's law is so strict is because it only allows for compensation if you're exonerated via a DNA law, which is garbage, if you ask me, because it's obvious here that the prosecutor didn't believe the evidence substantiated the charge, and this brother lost 40 years of his life. It should be a no-brainer that he's compensated. Just to give you context, if he had been convicted in nearby Kansas or next door Kansas, he would have gotten $65,000 a year per year that he was incarcerated. So it's insane that just next door they would have compensated him to the tune of almost $2 million. But Missouri doesn't deem that appropriate under these heinous circumstances.
I mean, that right there just shows you how utterly ridiculous this is. And this is from the Washington Post story here. Go to my computer, please. Around 10 p.m., Strickland was watching television when he was stunned by a news bulletin about the triple murder. Strickland had stayed home that night and had been on the phone and playing games after eating dinner with family members. His alibi was verified by numerous relatives. And they still pinned it on him, Lee.
That's what I mean, man. It's just, it's as if he wasn't good enough to have what other people would have experienced, freedom, because of an alibi. And man, I'm just saying, man, my heart is heavy for this brother, but it's also happy, it's excited because he gets the remainder of his years free. My prayer is that people will wrap their arms around him, support him financially, raising money for him to help him live out the remainder of his years with his family and loved ones as well, man. But in instances like this, like in Georgia with the Ahmaud Arbery case, when you look at this citizen's arrest, people came together, our legislators came together, even our Republican governor signed the legislation. It didn't go as far as it should have, but they made some changes. My prayer is in Missouri, the elected leadership, which it doesn't look like they will even be interested in it, would make some changes to right wrongs like what Brother Strickland has experienced.
Well, this is one of those examples right here, Matt, where I would hope black folks and others, if you want a reason in Missouri to vote, then you make sure Kevin Schmidt does not become the United States Senator because of what he did here. And then you have that trifling governor who said he would not make it a priority for Kevin Strickland, but he quickly pardoned the white couple who were charged and pulled their guns out on the Black Lives Matter protesters in St. Louis.
It's all about politics too, and that's the worst part. These DAs and other people who are charged with making sure that justice is sought and justice is done, a lot of times don't want to do the just thing because they don't want to lose votes or they don't want to lose political capital. That's the only reason Schmidt and the governor are out against this. If the prosecutor themselves moves to have him exonerated because the evidence doesn't substantiate the charge, the fact that you're carrying the mantle for a conviction shows you have ulterior motives. And those ulterior motives are keeping a black man behind bars and keeping the narrative that this scary black man must have committed this crime that everyone else knows he didn't commit. It's pretty simple.
Indeed it is. All right, folks, hold on one second. I got to go to a break. We come back. We're going to talk about what's happening in Baltimore. How in the hell does a cop rape a woman? And then the judge goes, well, there was no psychological damage here. He doesn't need to go to prison. The latest case of an outrageous judge making a decision when it comes to rape. That's next on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
Are the stars out tonight?
Alexa, play our favorite song again.
Okay.
That spin class was brutal. Well, you can try using the Buick's massaging seat. Ooh, yeah, that's nice.
Can I use Apple CarPlay to put some music on?
Sure, it's wireless.
Pick something we all like.
Okay, hold on.
What's your Buick's Wi-Fi password?
Buick Envision 2021.
Oh, you should pick something stronger. That's really predictable.
That's a really tight spot. Don't worry, I used to hate parallel parking.
Me too.
Hey.
Really outdid yourself.
Yes, we did.
The all-new Buick Envision, an SUV built around you. All of you.
Once upon a time, there lived a princess with really long hair who was waiting for a prince to come save her. But really, who has time for that?
Let's go. Feeling myself. I'm feeling
She ordered herself a ladder with Prime one-day delivery, and she was out of there.
I want some hood girls looking back at it and a good girl in my tax bracket.
Now, her hairdressing empire is killing it. And the prince? Well, who cares? Prime changes everything.
I'm about to give you something that's gonna put you in that. You gonna remember this.
Yeah, we was on tour. So Brian wanted to be the headliner. Now, you're headliner with New Edition. So we're like, okay, you want to be a headliner? Not a problem.
Since you think you big, that big and bad? Okay.
Yeah, yeah. And I'll never forget one night we, two of the guys, the driver got lost. I think it was Westbury we were playing. And I'll never forget, they asked him if he didn't mind going on first, and we would close out. And they came back and said, no. I'll give him his props. He took it like a man. It was rough out there. By the time he would come out, you could hear echoes.
Wow.
Hey, I'm Amber Stevens-West.
Yo, what up, y'all? This is Jay Ellis, and you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Remember the story out of New York where a judge pretty much let this white guy off, rich white kid who raped 4 girls, said, he really shouldn't go to prison. Now a Maryland judge has sentenced a police officer convicted of rape to 4 years in prison, but ruled he can stay on home detention while he appeals his cases. Former officer Anthony Westerman was sentenced on Friday. In August, he was convicted of second-degree rape concerning a 2017 incident and second-degree assault for a 2019 incident. Maryland State's attorney says Westerman is unlikely to go to prison because his time on a house arrest will count toward his time served, and the appeals process will be lengthy. The judge literally said that, well, there was no psychological damage here, so no need. Matt, if people want to understand why we can't skip over those judicial races when voting, these 2 cases tell us why.
That this is a white cop who raped 2 people is the answer to why we're even discussing this. The thing that's really important to know is both of these cases were tried to the judge without a jury. And the judge actually went on record saying that this was, quote, the most traumatic incident in this poor victim's life. So how he could conclude there was no psychological injury is beyond me and is indefensible. And most of the time, judges do not allow anyone to have an appeal bond when they're accused of a violent crime or a sexual crime, at least in my experience. So to not only give him 4 years of home confinement, but to do so while he's appealing the case, to me is only because he's an officer and frankly because he's got the right complexion for that judge's decision, not because it makes any sense.
You know, this is the problem I'm always talking about, Lee, how this system gives cops so much benefit of the doubt and how they are treated totally different than everyone else.
Yeah, man, it's a big challenge, and that's why, you know, you're talking about paying attention to all of the races and making sure that people are not getting in these offices that don't share our values and all of that. Man, look, this is the reason why we got to have the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act passed, right? Because it deals with certain aspects like that, aspects like, you know, making sure that cops who do wrong, bad cops, can actually pay the penalty beyond this superficial legal covering that they have or whatever. And we got to make sure, look, it's, you know, I was a local elected official. I was the CEO of DeKalb County. Our police department at its peak was like 1,000 police officers. And we had some tough challenges, good officers through there. But like in anything, there's some bad apples as well. And when they're bad apples, you got to get rid of them. But the challenge is legally, it makes it difficult to get rid of the bad apples and issues like this, whatever. You got this guy and you got a judge and a law enforcement officer that both should be out of a job. Well, one definitely is out of a job, but he's not going to really pay the full penalty for it, man. It does seem like, you know, as a black man, I look at all of these stories, man, and I'm like, yeah, we can't catch a break when we should catch a break, and then we pay an over penalty when we should be given a break or we should be rendered, you know, innocent in all this.
Yeah, I mean, it's just crazy when we see these cases. Now, how about this here? Remember the story about the white cops who beat up a fellow brother in blue who was undercover? Well, here's an update on one of the cops involved. Former St. Louis officer Dustin Boone received a light sentence for beating and permanently injuring a black undercover cop in 2017 at a racial justice protest. He will only serve 1 year and 1 day. That is way less than what the victim, Luther Hall, and prosecutors suggested. Boone's lawyers say he did not participate in the initial beatings. Now, according to court documents, Boone has a history of abusing suspects. Hall received a $5 million settlement from the police department as a result of this beating. Matt, this is, I mean, here again, people want to see black cop, white cop. When it comes to the cop, operative words there are black and white.
That's exactly right. And, frankly, I don't understand how this isn't a scenario where the officer gets heavier punishment. What's never made sense to me is if we imbue officers with all the ability to go out and enforce the law, then when they commit acts that are violative of the law, it stands to reason they should be held to an even higher standard. So to get a year in jail for brutally beating an undercover cop at a protest is just absurd. It's inexcusable, and there's no way to defend it beyond exactly what you said, Roland. White cop, black cop being the victim. Outside of that, it doesn't make any sense, and it's not anything you can, really defend in any way.
I have always maintained, Lee, that there should be a higher standard for cops. And again, but this system, what it does, it always treats them with kid gloves, and no, we don't want to hurt their feelings when we see the sort of heinous actions they are involved in.
Yeah, man. And, other law enforcement officers ought to stand with you in that sentiment, because the bad apples give the good apples a bad name, right? We lump them so often, they get lumped in the same bunch. And so, I would just encourage law enforcement officers, particularly those who look the same way that all three of us do, would stand up and say, look, it's time to go hard. Throw the book at these folk who abuse the law, who are charged with enforcing the law and protecting people when they abuse the law, when they break the law. Like, yeah, we need to look at these laws and statutes around the country and make the penalty even higher to prove a point. I'll say this, as elected officials, when various prosecutors go after elected officials that that may have done what they've been accused of, they like to throw the book at them, right? Because they want to set an example, especially for Black elected officials. They want to set an example that others can see and will not do the same thing. I think they should do the same thing for cops.
Well, check this out. In Missouri, charges have been dropped against a former Missouri cop who shot a Black woman in the back for allegedly stealing from a grocery store. Julia Cruz says she meant to use her taser when she shot Ashley Fountain Hall in 2019 after grocery store workers called the police about the alleged theft. After restorative justice mediation session and a $2 million payout from the city of Ladue to the victim, the assault charges were dropped. Okay, I'm Matt. The sister gets shot in the back by the cop. How do you factor in the $2 million settlement in dropping the? Just what the hell? Shoot somebody in the back. Taxpayers, y'all pay the settlement. I apologize. We're done.
It shouldn't be factored in at all. And this seems to me like a circumstance where the prosecutors may have done something different than what the victim may have wanted. I know it was a restorative justice mediation, but what I mean is that the prosecutors could have elected not to go that route. What I do think is interesting about this case, though, is the prosecutor, Wesley Bell, is a brother and is one of the well-known progressive names around the country. And his case was actually mediated by Carl Racine's office, which is out of D.C. So I'm assuming in this case they really thought the evidence was compelling, but on its face it is problematic. And I don't see how you allow this to happen, because she claimed that she wrongfully reached for her gun rather than for her taser. But, she did serious injury to this woman, obviously, because the city thought it appropriate to pay her $2 million. So I'm not sure why they didn't go forward with the charges. I'm not sure this is the appropriate case for mediation.
According to this KMOV story, Lee, it says that the dismissal stems from Hall's request following restorative justice mediation, a process where the victim and offender participates together to resolve matters. The facilitator said bail made it possible for the women to find a resolution. Okay, I'm just trying to understand. Okay, what is the resolution? I don't understand. If you shot somebody in the back, the civil resolution is completely different than, frankly, your actions.
So, y'all gonna make me go to law school, man, because I'm interested as well, because on the face of it, it does look like, the answer is the $2 million, right? It looks like $2 million is not hush money because it's public, but that $2 million payout made everything go away. And, legally, my brother could talk about that even more, but it just doesn't seem right. It seems, again, right, like a white officer is getting the benefit of the doubt for an action that could very well have been a mistake. Let's be clear. I don't fully know enough about it, and it's hard to get in the mind of people and in terms of what they were thinking when it all transpired. But it just, again, seems that this person is getting the benefit of the doubt.
Indeed. All right, folks, lots more to talk about today on Roland Martin Unfiltered. We'll hear from Baltimore County State's Attorney Marilyn Mosby. She goes off on the governor, Larry Hogan, for him constantly blasting her when it comes to crime in the city. Also, we will hear from Jamie Harrison, who is the chair of the Democratic National Committee, about his plans to get the Democrats back on the winning track. Up next, though, we'll talk with the presidents of Grambling State and Southern University in our HBCU Connect segment about this weekend's Bayou Classic returns to New Orleans. They are happy for that. Also, Meharry, they hand out $10,000 to each Meharry student. We'll give you those details as well. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Don't forget, download the app on all available platforms. Of course, Android phone, Apple TV, Android TV, Roku, Amazon Fire Stick, Xbox, as well as Samsung Smart TV. And of course, support us by joining our Bring the Funk fan club, where every dollar you give goes to support this show. Cash App, $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Back in a moment.
Are the stars out tonight?
Alexa, play our favorite song again.
Okay.
I only have eyes for you. Yes, 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 no. Yes, 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 no. Yes, yes, yes,
try it first.
Y'all know who Roland Martin is. He got the ascot on, he do the news. It's fancy news.
Keep it rolling. Right here. Rolling.
Roland Martin.
Right now.
You are watching Roland Martin, unfiltered. I mean, could it be any other way? Really? It's Roland Martin.
All right, folks, we will be in New Orleans this weekend for the 48th Annual Bayou Classic, partnered with Coca-Cola, streaming various events on Friday and Saturday, including the Coaches Luncheon. Then, of course, they have a small business event happening at the Hyatt Regency. Then, of course, you have what's happening on Saturday. We'll be broadcasting live from the fan zone outside of the Superdome. And we will be live streaming the halftime show. I know a lot of y'all complain about not being able to see the halftime show because the networks don't show it. Don't worry, we got y'all covered on the Black Star Network. And it's good, again, the 48th Annual Bayou Classic. Return to New Orleans, didn't take place last year because of COVID, but Grambling State University, Southern University, they are back on the field. Trust me, New Orleans is happy about them coming to the newly renovated Caesars Superdome on Saturday. Because, again, when those two schools meet, it represents a huge economic boon to the city. And so you got the Battle of the Bands, you got all the fans, as well as Battle of Interim Head Coaches. Joining us right now, presidents of both schools, Dr. Rick Gallup from Grambling State University. I tolerate him, he's a Kappa. It's all good. It's all good. And Dr. Ray Belton from Southern University. Glad to have both of you here. All right, so how are your alumni and your fans feeling about the game actually being back after not having it in 2020? I'll start with you, Dr. Belton.
Well, first of all, Roland, greetings from Southern University and A&M College. I had a moment ago, I saw your intro, and it is very reflective of the Bayou Classic. Everyone is simply excited about the Bayou Classic coming back home in New Orleans, and it's nothing like the Bayou Classic in New Orleans. And so, look, our alums are just waiting for the moment. You know, the festivities have already started, quite frankly, and we're looking forward, you know, to getting down there in the next couple of days and really reflecting on HBCUs generally and the HBCU experience.
Rick, are you already there in New Orleans?
I was there yesterday, Roland, and I'm actually on my way back home. I had some meetings in Baton Rouge today, so I'm coming to you live from the backseat of my Ford Expedition. So my apologies for the poor.
It's all good. It's all good.
Yeah. So no, we're headed back to North Louisiana. We'll get the family, and we'll go back down to New Orleans on Thanksgiving Day. We'll squeeze in the Saints game, and then of course Friday morning we'll kick off. I certainly want to thank my friend, my frat brother, my colleague, Dr. Belton, for just being such an amazing leader of Southern University and being such a great partner over these last 5 years in all things Bayou Classic and all things HBCU. So I certainly tip my hat to my friend for showing us the way, and again for just being an amazing leader among leaders.
Must have had enough foresight to have two Kappas on, so I'm certainly glad I wore the appropriate attire on today's show. I'm sure glad that happened. Now, explain to folks really who don't understand this game, because the game is actually, controlled by both universities. Typically, when you have these games, there's sort of an external group that invites the schools in. But this game is really everything around it is controlled by both institutions.
Well, I don't know that we have time to go through all the intricacies of it, but certainly our respective foundations play a role in the promotions of the game, as well as NOCCI, which is the event manager for the event. So it is a series of partnerships, but ultimately, leading back to the two schools. And again, this is the 48th installment of the Bayou Classic, and we're just really excited that we've been able to continue this tradition, even with the little blip on the radar with the COVID season. We certainly are excited to get back to New Orleans, as Dr. Belton previously said.
Doc?
Yeah, I mean, it really is. Southern University and Gramblin's Foundation, we ultimately established a contract for a management group to help facilitate it. But we have ultimate responsibility and authority to manage those type of relationships. And over the last few years, it has really worked wonderfully for both institutions in terms of the resources that we ultimately benefit from as a result of the game. Both Rick and I, we are often asked about, who's going to win the game, and I think both of us would say we already have won in light of the financial rewards that both institutions receive, as a result of engaging in this week of festivities.
Now, it's more than just the game. It's more than just Step Show and Battle of the Bands. So there are a plethora of events that actually take place.
Yeah. So, yeah, it includes, career fairs, business expos, parades, Greek shows. We really have the opportunity to highlight, our students by way of their pageantry and their competitions. Again, a parade in the city of New Orleans. We have the occasion to network with legislators in light of the fact that they provide a symposium, during the week, particularly the Black Caucus of the state of Louisiana. And of course, just, the opportunity to embrace our alums across the country who make this a pilgrimage, every year. And really, like I said, it really helps us to kind of define, the HBCU experience, and we're all family until Saturday, and then after that, we're family once again.
Understand?
We're still family. We're still family, Doc. We're still family, no matter what. Because one thing about it, the more of our cousins who show up to the family reunion, the more resources we have to take back to our respective campuses, and that's one of the things, Roland, that I think sometimes folks forget about, and that is the fact that we are there to operate a business model that, again, is 48 years old. And at the end of the festivities, we want to be able to bring resources back to Grambling State University and to Southern University. And so, we always encourage our fans to not look for the free tickets, that they should buy tickets to support our students, because at the end of the day, that is really what it is all about, is that we go through this each year so that we're able to bring resources to benefit and support our students. So I appreciate you giving us this platform to promote and talk about the Bayou Classic. But go to Ticketmaster and buy your tickets. Don't call Dr. Belton or me asking for some free ones. Go to Ticketmaster and buy your tickets and come support the students at Grambling and
That's
Southern.
right. Don't bug folks asking for the hookup in doing that. Now, Dr. Belton, I got to tell you, look, I didn't go to neither school. I went to Texas A&M, so I have no dog in this hunt. I've actually spoken to the alumni. I did the alumni at Southern, and I spoke on campus. I spoke on the campus of Grambling and did a commencement. But I got to tell you, Doc, Grambling got y'all beat, because when Rick came on my TV One show, he presented me with a Grambling honorary drum major jacket. When I went to the campus, they gave me a track suit. I had it on yesterday, and I was trying to wear some Southern University gear. Hey, dog, I ain't got none. So I want all y'all Southern people, don't get mad at me.
Well, look, Rick is an exceptional leader, and his the degree to which he embraced you, Roland, really speaks to that. But let me say this to you: when you get to New Orleans, we should have something for you. So I want to make sure that you're representing Southern University and Grambling, for that matter. But certainly I will make a point to have something for you in a very tasteful manner, such that you could truly have an appreciation of the Jaguar Nation this weekend.
I just want to make sure I don't need, because matter of fact, one of your Southern people sent me a text message. I saw your Grambling stuff. I said, Grambling took care of their business. Don't be getting mad at me. I said, don't be getting mad at me, because I only wear HBCU gear on my show where I've spoken at. So I've had a few HBCUs hit me up. Why you not wearing our stuff? I said, because y'all ain't never invited me. So that's how we do it.
Roland,
isn't that well, we did have the occasion to host you for the Alumni Federation.
Yeah. No. The alumni did.
Well received.
And I spoke on campus. Rick, go ahead.
That's right.
No, I was just gonna say, isn't this just like a family reunion where you got the favorite uncle, and there's always something that we can spar about a little bit, and that's what family is all about.
Hey,
and that is what. And look, I'm thankful for Southern University and for Grambling State University and all HBCUs to have the platform and the opportunity to even spar like this. So it's all HBCU love, man.
And it's all good. And if y'all want to see a graduation turned out, just go on YouTube and see when I spoke at Grambling. I'm just saying, and ever since I did that, other folk been following behind the brothers. So I'm just saying that's how we did it. So
I got you.
We're looking forward to it. I will be there Friday morning. We'll be live streaming the coaches luncheon on Friday as well, and other events happening on Friday and Saturday in partnership with Coca-Cola. So, gentlemen, we look forward to it, and let's have a great game. And I'm not even gonna ask y'all who's gonna win, because I take it y'all a wee bit biased.
Right.
We all win.
We all win.
There you go. But as Rick said, buy a ticket.
Right.
Buy a ticket.
Look for the hookup.
Yeah,
that's
right. Now, you can get the hookup by buying a ticket.
By buying a ticket.
There you go.
You got it.
Gentlemen, I appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Hey, thank you, Roland. Thank you, Dr. Belton. Appreciate you, my brother.
All right, Rick.
Y'all take care.
See you in New Orleans.
Take care
okay, thanks.
All right, folks. Meharry Medical College, they're blessing each student with $10,000 as a holiday gift. The historically black medical school in Nashville, Tennessee, is depositing the money in each student's bank account. School leaders say they hope the money will reduce any financial pressure caused by the COVID-19 pandemic and ensure well-being, academic stability, and success. The money was part of a higher education emergency relief fund from the CARES Act. I ain't never heard that one, Matt, where school dropped 10 grand in your bank account.
Not only have I not heard it, I'm hoping Howard does the same for me as an alum. I could use $10,000. I think that's a beautiful thing. I'm glad the students at Meharry are getting that opportunity, and I'm glad that the board saw it appropriate to help alleviate, this time of crisis for them. So kudos to them. But HU, if y'all hear me, y'all know I'm ready for that.
Lee, that is what I call university leadership.
I love it. I'm a Clark Atlanta University alum, so I love it. We actually, our institution wiped out all negative balances for current students as a part of the CARE funding too. So I'm glad, Roland, that you are highlighting our HBCUs. You should have led off this show with this good stuff first, not all that tough stuff that we've been dealing with. But this is a good moment because it shows how HBCUs are still needed, how we're still pouring in and investing in the lives of our community and creating some phenomenal leaders around the country. So Meharry, hats off to you. My daughter wants to go to medical school, so that's we're gonna put that up on her wall right now.
There you go.
She's 12 years old.
There you go. All right, folks, hold tight 1 second. When we come back, we're gonna talk about drama in Baltimore. Marilyn Mosby is hot, blasting The governor of Maryland saying he is constantly meddling in the affairs in Baltimore. Wait until I show you her news conference. We'll also hear from Jamie Harrison, who runs the Democratic National Committee. What is he going to do to ensure that they reach black voters and speak to the issues that we care about? You will hear him in my interview. Folks, you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered right here on the Black Star Network.
Once upon a time, there lived a
7:02.
princess with really long hair who was waiting for a prince to come save her. But really, who has time for that?
Let's go. Feeling myself. I'm feeling
She ordered herself a ladder with Prime one-day delivery, and she was out of there.
I want some hood girls looking back at it and a good girl in my tax bracket.
Now, her hairdressing empire is killing it. And the prince, well, who cares? Prime changed everything.
But I'm back at it and I'm feeling.
Oh, that spin class was brutal. Well, you can try using the Buick's massaging seat. Ooh, yeah, that's nice.
Can I use Apple CarPlay to put some music on?
Sure, it's wireless. Pick something we all like. Okay, hold on.
What's your Buick's Wi-Fi password?
Buick Envision 2021.
Oh, you should pick something stronger. That's really predictable.
That's a really tight spot. Don't worry, I used to hate parallel parking.
Me too.
Hey.
Really outdid yourself.
Yes, we did.
The all-new Buick Envision, an SUV built around you, all of you.
Are the stars out tonight?
Alexa, play our favorite song again.
Okay.
I only have
Hi, everybody. This is Jonathan Nelson.
Hi, this is Cheryl Lee Ralph, and you are watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
All right, folks, 17-year-old Kenesa Howard was last seen on November 11th, 2021 in D.C. She's 5 feet 5 inches tall, weighs about 128 pounds, with black hair and brown eyes. If you have any information regarding her whereabouts, please call the Metropolitan Police Department at 202-576-6768, 202-576-6768. Let's go to Miami, where a black man is suing the city of Miami and 5 police officers for misconduct. Samuel Scott Jr. was visiting his aunt when his vehicle disappeared. He reported it to authorities. Officers Jonathan Guzman, Michael Bloom, Brandon Williams, Miguel Hernandez, and Randy Carriel arrived on the scene, and this happened.
All right, listen. I'm gonna reach your rights real quick. All right?
I'm telling you guys got the wrong guy. I can confirm where I was, and I can even confirm my activities. I recently logged off of the VPN at my job.
Okay. At what time?
Roughly before I came over here, before I called you guys.
Okay.
But I'm telling you, you guys got the wrong guy.
Okay. The description of the car, of the guy that took off from your car is just like yours.
But that's half of Miami. Bald-headed with a beard. Or even if he had dreads, it's dreads with a beard. Okay. But then it's not fair. I mean, like I said, my kids, I called because my car got stolen. My kids are over there. They don't even know what's going on.
So what time was your car stolen?
I told you, probably around about 5. I didn't pay attention to the time. I really just jumped out of the car to go see. That's it. If you want, like I said, we can go. Like, I had my kids and stuff like that, dropped them off, came over to say hi, and I went. I mean, I don't know what happened. I don't. I mean, like I said, I know the people that stay across there, over here, all over the place. I don't know what happened. My car just, somebody jumped in, drove off. And I'm sorry, but I'm telling you, I didn't do it. I mean, literally, I mean, why would I call the police? I mean, I called because my car is stolen. I mean, how me and my kids are going to get home? My pillow, my work ID, my work stuff, all of that stuff is in there. Why would I? That's why I'm like, why am I in handcuffs? If I'm calling them and I'm...
Just give me a second, okay? Right. I'm gonna open the window so he's there behind there.
Also, I don't really know, or look at my record, I've never been arrested. One good friend of mine is like City of Miami, Dennis Jackson. He used to be my pastor, my retired City of Miami police officer.
You never been arrested before?
No.
You sure about that?
Yeah. Never been arrested. Ex-military. Never been arrested.
Okay. Thalden Pierre is the attorney for Samuel Scott. He joins us right now. I'm real confused.
Yeah.
The dude whose car was stolen calls the cops to report his car was stolen, and they put him in handcuffs. Why?
Sometimes real life is stranger than fiction. In this situation, it seems like there was an ambitious cop who essentially just wanted to pin the crime on someone. The only person that they had was a generic individual in Miami, and in this particular neighborhood, which is predominantly black, could have been anyone. As the complaint in the lawsuit states, essentially, they had to dig under his shirt to figure out if he even matched the person that they initially identified, who was running away from the.
Here's the problem. Here's the problem. There's no car on the scene, right?
Yep.
So the person who called him, he's in handcuffs. So what logic would the person who stole the car be the same one to call the cops? Like, why was he put in handcuffs in the first place?
And again, if we're going to go through logic, there is none. I mean, that's the whole gist of the lawsuit, is the fact that Mr. Scott called for assistance, but ended up becoming the victim. I mean, becoming the perpetrator when he was in fact the victim. So, Mr. Martin, I wish I could explain what makes someone arrest the person who actually reports his vehicle stolen, but I can't.
Okay, so this is one of the things that sort of perplexes me that happens with these cops all the time. They come on a scene, they see a black person, and they immediately slap cuffs on them to sort of detain them, and then it's like, well, we'll figure everything out later.
Yeah. Yeah. And in this situation, they kind of did more than just figure it out. They actually made stuff up along the way. And even though it was inconsistent with reality, but that was the whole fantasy. I mean, they not only said that he stole his own car, they said he was carrying he was basically in possession of a gun that was 2 miles away. They said he had possession of marijuana, which till this day, we still don't know where that came from. That's a fantasy in itself. So oftentimes when I do these cases, the police officers attempt to write down what has just recently occurred. And then they stick through it. I mean, they stick to the arrest affidavit up until the lawsuit. And even though it doesn't make any sense, and in this case, it didn't make sense at the beginning, but they usually have an ability to kind of like make it make sense. But in this situation, as you've eloquently pointed out, you can't make this make sense.
Okay,
no one calls.
Okay, now I'm real. So hold up.
Yeah.
Car gets stolen, and they say a gun 2 miles away was used. Now they found a gun, but there's still no car, right?
They found the gun in the car that was stolen 2 miles away.
Okay, hold up. So his car was stolen.
Yeah.
They find a gun in the stolen car, and they say that was your gun.
Exactly.
Not realizing he reported it stolen.
He reported his vehicle stolen. No, they knew he reported it stolen. One of the things that they had Mr. Scott do was write an arrest. I mean, I forgot what it's called. It's a witness affidavit form or a statement basically saying, I'm reporting my vehicle stolen. So they knew he did that at the inception. But for whatever reason, that's what was the basis for the false reporting of a crime, because they were saying, of course not. Your car wasn't stolen. You stole the vehicle.
Matt, this is the kind of stuff that absolutely pisses black people off.
Too often, Roland, the police start with the presumption of guilt when it comes to a black man, particularly a big black man. Big black men do not get the presumption of innocence. And that's the only reason this would make any sense, because it is wholly illogical that you would call the police and report your vehicle stolen, and then the police make contact with you and they take you into custody for the theft of your vehicle. It makes no sense. But thankfully for Mr. Scott, he's got an attorney as skilled as Mr. Pierre. He and I are in a group called the Civil Rights Collective, and he's a fantastic attorney. So I'm sure this will turn out the way it should. But it's a travesty that we have to even have this conversation, because it makes no sense whatsoever.
Lee, and then people wonder why black folks are up in arms with these damn cops.
Yeah, it's, common sense isn't so common all the time, right? The man called the police because his car was stolen, and you arrest him and impede on his civil rights for doing the thing he called them about. I mean, it's just, it makes you laugh, but it's sad at the same time. And here's the other thing. In the article, it didn't really state that in what you just showed, but to my understanding that the officer turned off his body cam more than once as a part of all this. Y'all, that's troubling. Like, that is really issues. I know many people get excited when they see that police officers have body cams, because you feel like you can, it'll keep them in check, and then you can know what happens in instances like these. But here's some things that we got to be concerned about, y'all. In many of these jurisdictions that have body cameras, the officers can manually turn them off and on. That ain't good. The officer should not be able to turn the body camera off and on. They need to have the technology, and I know I'm getting a little technical, but they need to have the technology in any jurisdiction that has these body cameras, where when they get out their car, it turns on. And when they get back in their car off the scene, it turns off. You shouldn't have the ability to turn off your body camera, because we saw what happened in other jurisdictions where things have gone haywire, and you don't see that. So my brother representing this, man, keep the fight up, man. Just, because they need to begin to right some wrongs, not just in this case. I pray that, that he gets what is due for him, but also that y'all continue and see what y'all can do to fix some of these laws that are just bad, that impede on people's civil rights.
Sheer madness. Well, certainly keep us updated on what happens in this case, and I hope your client gets as much money as he can.
Yeah, I appreciate that, and I do think Mr. Scott appreciates it as well.
All right, thank you so very much. All right then, folks, that's just, y'all, I got no words. I just, and then people are like, oh, why y'all so upset? Hello, and now they do this. We get caught in the criminal justice system. Got to hire a cop. Got to hire a lawyer. Got to go through all this sort of stuff. The stress and the drama, all those different things that go along with that. That's what black people have to deal with in a system. When they see someone black, they automatically think, uh-oh, they're the criminal. It happens all of the time. I saw a video a few weeks ago where cops roll up, a black guy had been attacked, cops roll up, immediately go after the black dude, and the white woman starts yelling, what are y'all doing? He's the victim. All they thought was, had to be the brother. That's how they rolled. All right, folks, let's go to Virginia, where a jury has awarded 9 victims involved in the 2017 Charlottesville, Virginia Unite the Rally more than $26 million in damages. 12 people and 5 white supremacists and nationalist organizations were defendants. The jury found that all the defendants violated a Virginia state conspiracy law. They also found that some defendants violated the state's law prohibiting a racial, religious, or ethnic harassment or violence. However, the jury could not determine whether the defendants conspired to commit racially motivated violence. Folks, that's some sad news. Malika Shabazz, one of the 6 daughters of slain civil rights leader Malcolm X, was found dead in her home in New York City last night. A police spokesman says 56-year-old Shabazz was found in her home in Brooklyn. Police say her death appears to be from natural causes. She and her twin sister Malak were the youngest daughters of Malcolm and Betty Shabazz. Her death comes days after 2 of the men who had been convicted of murdering their father was exonerated. All right, folks, got to go to a break. We come back, we'll hear from Jamie Harrison about the role that he has in trying to revive the Democratic National Committee and to get them back on the winning track. We'll also hear from Marilyn Mosby, who is livid with the governor of Maryland, saying, you don't give a damn about Baltimore. Y'all, she was breathing heat. We'll show you that. We'll also talk with the sister in our Marketplace segment presented by Verizon, who is trying to get black kids involved in STEM. She has a new product out. It's on sale in major stores. She launches today in Target. We'll talk to Aisha Bowe right here on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
Once upon a time, there lived a princess with really long hair who was waiting for a prince to come save her. But really, who has time for that?
Let's go. Feeling myself. I'm feeling
She ordered herself a ladder with Prime one-day delivery, and she was out of there.
I want some hood girls looking back at it and a good girl in my tax bracket.
Now, her hairdressing empire is killing it. And the prince, well, who cares? Prime changed everything.
Maureen is saving big holiday shopping at Amazon, so now she's free to become Maureen the Merrier. Food is her love language, and she really loves her grandson. Like, really loves.
Hi, I'm Vivian Green.
Hey everybody, this is your man Fred Hammond, and you're watching Roland Martin, my man, Unfiltered.
All right, folks, midterm elections are next year, and Democrats are facing a tough road in terms of trying to retain the House, as well as build on the majority in the Senate. It's a major, major problem that they are facing, and the person who is going to be leading them in this effort is Jamie Harrison from South Carolina, who is the chair of the Democratic National Committee. Today, we have an opportunity to sit down and talk about a variety of issues, including what will Dems do to ensure that they are speaking to the issues and passing meaningful legislation that appeals to African Americans. Here's our conversation. All right, Jamie, want to get right to it. Lots of stuff I want to cover, and so let's dive headlong into this whole deal. When you look at what's happening right now in the country, it's really the tale of two stories. You have, on one hand, those who are claiming the country is going in the wrong direction. You look at the polling numbers of President Joe Biden, the polling numbers of Vice President Kamala Harris. Folks are talking about supply chain. They're talking about gas prices and inflation. On the other hand, you have unemployment numbers that are down. You've had 3 consecutive months of positive job numbers. Actually, they've been adjusted upward as well. You now see the Walmart CEO praising the administration for getting to the heart of the supply chain issues. How do you deal with these two different views? How do you deal with the messaging of what Democrats have done for the economy, whereas it's not catching or gaining a foothold with the public?
Yeah. Well, Roland, listen, we're in a complex time right now. We're still dealing with COVID in so many places. You know, you got the tale of two cities type scenario in some of these states. You got some states that have controlled COVID and some states who still haven't. And so you're seeing various, worlds and atmospheres in various states. What's important is this. I think is multiple steps that the Democratic Party has to take, led by Joe Biden, is to make sure that people understand what we have delivered for them thus far, what we are continuing to work on in order to deliver, and that we are not tone deaf to understand that there's still people in this country that are still going through things and they still need more help. And then it's also important, not just talking about us and what we control in the Democratic Party, but it's also equally important to paint the contrast. what is the other side actually doing, if they're doing anything at all, which they aren't. They're just voting no. They're trying to obstruct. They're trying to gum up the works. They're talking down the economy instead of trying to lift up the economy and the American people. So it's really, really important. And so we have taken some concrete steps in delivering for the American people, because I believe ultimately, as we go into 2022, the message has to be about Democrats delivering for folks. And the American Rescue Plan was our down payment on doing that. Now we passed a bipartisan infrastructure law. Next is the Build Back Better agenda. And the crown and glory in all of this stuff, and something that we have to throw everything that we have into, is making sure that we secure voting rights for all Americans. Those are the components that I believe that will really give us the strength to go into 2022 and buck history and win in these midterm elections.
One of the things that when we talk about the narrative and also explaining these things, David Axelrod tweeted this, and look, I agree with him to some extent on several things. He said, D should stop referring to the BBB as huge, historic, and transformative, emphasizing instead how it is responsive to some of the everyday challenges people are facing, practical answers to real life problems like the cost of childcare. No one's asking to be transformed. One of the things that Joe Madison always says is you got to put it where the goats can get it. And that is walking people through. Many people on the media side often focus on the cost of the package as opposed to what's in the package. What is your plan to explain that, to break that down, to walk people through, where it's no longer just 1.2 trillion, 1.2 trillion, 1.2 trillion, but literally, no, this is exactly what it is and how it's specifically going to help you in your state, in your city, in your neighborhood.
Well, listen, Roland, one of the things that I think is really, really important is not for people just to hear me say that or to hear the president say that. It's actually to hear real people talk about the impact that these laws have on their lives. And so one of the things that we're working on right now is the capturing of the stories from real Americans who've been impacted in a transformative way in terms of their own lives, how it's made it better for them. In terms of putting food on the table, getting Christmas gifts for their families, all of these ways that has had a positive impact for them and their families and their communities. And it's those stories that have to be shared, because in the end of the day, another politician, another political person talking about things and this and that, that isn't how you persuade people. When they see somebody that looks like them, somebody that comes from similar background or community, somebody that they can relate to, it's a much more powerful way to sell what we've been able to accomplish right now. So we're working on all of that, and that will be rolled out. One of the things I've been telling folks is this isn't going to be a 1 or 2 week thing where you go up and you sell and say, hey, look at what we do. This has to be a 6, 7, 8 month engagement where we are breaking this thing up into pieces and making sure that we get the message out in all types of forms with all types of messengers, so that depending on who you are, you find someone who you connect with and that you hear.
I totally get that, but you also got to take credit. And the reality is Republicans are very good at taking credit. You even got some Republicans right now who voted against the infrastructure bill, who are literally lauding what's in it.
And we call them out on it every time.
Well, look, that's absolutely important. But one of the things also I think is important, and look, I said this to President Obama when they passed the Affordable Care Act. I also believe you got to take the fight to red states, to places where these people who are attacking this administration. And so my whole deal is, okay, you got that Alabama congressman who's taking credit for it. You know what? That's where you actually go to that particular city. You go to his district and you say, Democrats made this impossible and he voted against it. To me, you also take the fight and going to Mississippi, going to Alabama, going to Tennessee, Arkansas, going to these southern states, going to Iowa, going to these places where they voted for Trump and didn't vote for Biden, and say, this is how we made your life better. This is how we delivered. And so are there any plans to do that as well by going on the offense in the places where the people who are fighting you the most?
Well, we are already going on the offense in some of those areas, Roland. We have equipped all of our state parties with information specifically about how this impacts their communities. I'm also on a tour where I'm going to, by the end of, at least by first part of December, we'll have hit all 50 states in terms of going on local TV in all of these states, talking about this agenda and this law and the impact that it's going to have. I probably have done almost 7 or 8 thus far, and we're going to do more after the holidays, where we're just hitting it everywhere. And we're going to make sure that these people understand. We're also talking to our state parties about development of truth squads. So when these groundbreakings happen, when the ribbon cuttings happen and all these other things, and the Republicans try to come out and say, oh, yeah, this is such a good thing, and I'm here to help cut the ribbon. You didn't help pay for this. You didn't help. In the end, you didn't vote for it. So why should you take credit for it? That's going to be very important. We did not see that during the recovery, the stimulus plan during the Obama years, but you will see this when we roll out all of these initiatives under Joe Biden.
Will the vice president go to these places? Because obviously when they come, it raises the stakes as well. Because it's not just a matter of appealing to your core voters. It's also saying to those people who are your biggest critics, you say we're not doing anything. This. You mentioned that stimulus bill. The reality is Elkhart, Indiana had a whole bunch of stuff that got rebuilt because of that. The Obama folks, frankly, didn't take enough credit. The president did go there when they announced it. Well, that's one of those things where again, taking credit. Look, Trump, for all of his craziness, and the Republicans, they took credit for a whole bunch of stuff, even for bills they never signed, because they were just driving into the public's mind of what we accomplished, and they benefited from, frankly, lying.
Well, and you're spot on, Roland. One of the things that you will see in the course of the next few days, once we come out of the holidays, President, the Vice President, and the cabinet members will all be crisscrossing over the country. In addition, many members of the House of Representatives on the Democratic side have already announced over 1,000 town hall events or events to sell this agenda. So nobody's going to allow grass to grow under their feet on this, in terms of making sure that people are well aware of who delivered broadband to rural communities. Now, that's a big deal. It's a big deal. I live in a state where 38% of rural South Carolina doesn't have any access to broadband. And I know personally that but for Jim Clyburn being insistent on this to make sure that we had broadband, and that's going to impact all across the country. But we got to sell it. We got to let people know who is responsible and who voted no. Those two things have to go together. And so you're going to see so much activity with Democrats across the country over the next few months and weeks. But you're also going to see the juxtapose of signs and billboards and digital ads letting people know who actually voted against this legislation that will impact their lives.
The reality is, and I hear this a lot, what have the Democrats done for African Americans? The George Floyd Justice Act, nothing happened there. When you talk about the voting bills, didn't happen there as well. And so what is going to be the narrative? What are you going to say to African Americans? Because I can tell you every single day in our chat rooms when we're live, I hear it on social media. I hear it when I travel all across this country. That is going to be an issue. What is the signature issue that you're going to be able to tell African Americans? This is what we delivered when you gave us control of the U.S. Senate, control of the U.S. House, control of the White House.
Well, Roland, I think it's clear there's so much chock full in all of these bills that have a direct impact on the African American community, that were crafted in the thoughts of the African American community. From resources that we have dedicated that have saved so many of our historically Black colleges and universities, starting in the American Rescue Plan, and will continue on in this. What we are trying to do for our students, particularly those who are attending HBCUs in terms of student loans, Pell Grants and all that coming back in the Build Back Better agenda. When you look about the impacts that disproportionately, things that impact the African American community, like the clean water and those type of things, the environmental injustices that take place in this country. A lot of provisions in some of these bills that are targeted specifically to those communities. I think about the pre-K, the universal pre-K. Those funds are primarily going to have a dramatic, disproportionate impact on Black communities and Latino communities as well. 3- and 4-year kindergarten, that's a big, big deal. The child care costs that families are going to be able to save. There's so much in these legislations, in these bills, that will have a disproportionate impact on the Black community specifically. Now, that is not to say that we still don't have a whole lot more to do. I mean, folks, we got to understand, we're 10 months, 11 months into this White House and this presidency, and we have already accomplished probably more than most presidential administrations in 4 years. But we still have a lot to do with the Justice Act. We still have a lot to do with voting rights. And we all know why these things have not come to fruition. It is because of the United States Senate. It is because we still have to, instead of just getting 51 senators in order to pass something to get to the president's desk, you got to get 60. And that is the reality. Until we change that, that is going to have a hold on a lot of the things that we're trying to get done. And so that's the reality of the situation. It ain't for lack of not trying, because we passed all of these things out of the House, but we're getting stuck in the Senate right now. And our hope is to find some way to navigate around this filibuster so that we can continue to get more things done and deliver for the American people, and specifically for Black folks.
Oh, that spin class was brutal. Well, you can try using the Buick's massaging seat. Oh, yeah, that's nice.
Can I use Apple CarPlay to put some music on?
Sure, it's wireless. Pick something we all like.
Okay, hold on.
What's your Buick's Wi-Fi password? Buick Envision 2021.
Oh, you should pick something stronger. That's really predictable.
That's a really tight spot. Don't worry, I used to hate parallel parking.
Me too.
Hey.
Really outdid yourself.
Yes, we did.
The all-new Buick Envision, an SUV built around you, all of you.
Betty is saving big holiday shopping at Amazon. So now, she's free to become Bear Hug Betty. Settle in, kids. You'll be there a while. Ooh, where you going?
Hi, I'm Eric Nolan.
I'm Shantae Moore.
Hi, my name is Latoya Luckett, and you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
I keep getting back is, that's all great and well, but you got to get it done. Are you not concerned that by not being able to have what some are defining as a signature piece of legislation that specifically benefits African Americans, or overwhelmingly benefits African Americans, you're not going to have Black enthusiasm next year? That is of great concern. You've got Senate races happening in Florida, where you got Congresswoman Val Demings who's running. You've got Senate race in North Carolina, in Wisconsin, in Pennsylvania, in Ohio. That's 5 Senate races right there that are going to be critical. That has to be of concern, that you're not going to have an enthusiastic Black turnout. You got Black activists who are saying that, look, we're on the ground and it's going to be hard for us to get people hyped and excited about the election.
Well, Roland, I've been on the ground too. You know, I've been all over this country right now, and I talk to folks all the time back home here in South Carolina. Everyday, hardworking Black folks who just trying to make ends meet. And I can tell you, people are excited if they're getting an increase in the earned income tax credit. They're excited if, just take the one provision in the Build Back Better alone, just the child care provision, where it's going to cap child care costs at 7%. If you got a single mom who is making $36,000 a year, spending $1,000 a month on childcare, that's a third of her income that goes to childcare. That will be capped in this bill. So she's not paying $12,000 a year, but she's paying $2,000 a year. That's going to be a big deal for a lot of families in this country. And the only reason why it happened, is because people went out to vote last November. Now, just as quickly as it happened is just as quickly as it can disappear. We need to understand what is the contrast on the other side that we are building and trying to deliver each and every day. Are we going to get everything that we want right now? Probably not. It just doesn't happen that way. It doesn't happen that way in life. But are we going to work like hell in order to try to do as best we can for folks, given the situation right now where we're in a 50-50 Senate? Yes, we're going to try to wring every little thing that we can out of this so that we can deliver, so that people see that this is a positive step forward. We increase our Senate majority, then we can deliver even more for them and their families and their community. We reduce that majority, and then, we got to deal with the Republicans on the other side trying to take back and claw back all of the gains that we've made over the past year.
One of the other criticisms that Democrats have routinely taken African Americans for granted, not providing the resources to reach those communities. The DCCC announced today they're going to be spending $30 million targeting communities of color. What I'm getting from people is, okay, that's communities of color. What specifically is that going to go to African Americans, and what is that going to go to? Is it going to be organizations? Is it going to be on the ground? What's going to go to Black-owned media? And so when we talk about this initiative, now that's DCCC. You also have numerous other groups. You got the DNC. First of all, the DNC is separate from the DCCC. You got the DSCC, which focuses on the Senate races. The DCCC is for congressional races. You have the Democratic Governors Association. You have these other groups out here, these other PACs, and so. How are you as a Democratic chair pulling all of these different forces together saying, hey, we need to have a real, massive, targeted effort and spend to targeting people of color, specifically African Americans, to drive them to get out to vote?
Well, Roland, I meet with the heads of all of those organizations. Again, I only control the DNC, but I meet with the heads of all of the other sister committees on a monthly basis. Just actually had a set of meetings the other day with some of them. And I know to a group, all of them understand that we sink or swim based on what happens in terms of communities of color, and specifically in the African American community. And so I know a lot of them are investing earlier in terms of organizing on the ground. We are building out at the DNC also our efforts in doing that. All of them recognize that historically, the Democratic Party has not done what it needs to do as it relates to investing in these communities, investing in the businesses in those communities. We just held a minority diversity symposium earlier this fall, where I got all of the sister committees together in order to co-sponsor this to increase the number of minority vendors dramatically that we have in our system. So we are on the ground right now. I announced one of the first initiatives I announced was a $20 million investment in building out boots on the ground to build our infrastructure across our battleground states. And that's where we're going into these communities, picking Black and brown folks, AAPI, Native American folks, training them, and then putting them back into their communities in order to organize. And so it's a very heavy, intensive program, because we understand you can't parachute people in. You got to build up the capacity in the communities. We're going to have micro grant programs like we did last cycle, but we're increasing those so that we're investing in the grandmas and the aunts who have their little community organizing efforts that we know, like Aunt Sally in this community, she's the one who gets out to vote. Well, she needs some grant money in order to do that. So we're going to have all of these initiatives that we're rolling out. We're starting now, but we're also rolling them out at the beginning of the year. So we're starting much earlier, but understanding that we have to invest in the communities that invest so much in us.
There have been a couple of stories talking about issues that have taken place within the DNC where you've not been able to do what you want to do. I've seen those stories. I've talked to other people as well who've expressed frustration. Are you getting the support that you need, and are you making it perfectly clear that you need to have the flexibility and the freedom and the leeway to run the DNC as you see fit? As opposed to having others, some who may be in the White House and other places, sort of dictating who you have on your leadership team and who you are working with?
Well, listen, Roland, you know how all these stories go. In the end of the day, the people back home don't care anything about who I'm working with, how I'm working with them, whatever. They just want to know whether or not we're delivering for them. And so a lot of that stuff is a bunch of hyperbole and noise. I got to focus on making sure that we build the strongest DNC possible so that we can reach out to our voters, so that we can register folks. For the first time in almost 20 some odd years, the DNC is actually back in the voter registration game. We're putting boots on the ground right now. I want to make sure that the DNC is also reflective of the diversity of our party. I've created a diversity, equity, inclusion, and she's also my counsel. We're making major strides in making sure that this party looks like the folks and invest in the folks who invest in us. So that's my focus right now. I don't have time for all of the gossip in D.C. because people don't have anything else to do with their time.
We talked earlier about how important those voting bills are. We are seeing Republicans all across the state passing bills, gerrymandering districts, making it hard to vote as well. What is it going to take for you and others to convince your Democratic senators, especially Arizona Senator Kristen Sinema and Joe Manchin, that if no action is taken, the entire party is screwed next year? I mean, one of those bills gets rid of partisan gerrymandering. The Supreme Court ruled, hey, they don't get involved in that. They leave it up to the states. But when you've already had partisan gerrymandering on the state level, then Republicans control a significant number of these state Supreme Courts. And so the reality is this, unless they do something about the filibuster to pass these voting bills, the reality is Republicans could very well easily take over the House without any competition whatsoever, because they will gerrymander their way into controlling majority of the seats. We're already seeing it in Texas, in Georgia, in Pennsylvania. We're seeing it in numerous states.
Well, Roland, I know some of our senators want to bring civility back to Washington, D.C. Well, the one way that we bring civility back is in partisan gerrymandering. That's how you bring it back.
Well, also, incivility also means that when you're in power, you use it, because you know what? If you're the Democrats, you're going to be in the minority come 2023 if these things go through. And we're down to the wire, because there's also a window here, as you well know. Yep. If you don't pass these bills, the courts may say, sorry, too late. The primaries have already started.
Well, and that's a political issue that we are facing right now. And it's important. I talked with Kyrsten Sinema just briefly at the White House signing on the infrastructure bill. It's important that we do all that we can to find a way around this. And it's just not the.
Does she get it? Does she get it?
Well, she heard me. And so we'll continue to have the conversations. I know that a number of folks at the White House and in the Senate and the House are also having conversations. But this is what folks need to understand. That this isn't just about whether or not Democrats win or Republicans lose or vice versa. This ultimately is about our democracy, about who we are going to be. And in the end of the day, our right to vote is the most sacred right that we have as Americans. I call it the great equalizer, because it's the same. Jeff Bezos has a vote, and the guy who cleans up one of the factories has a vote, or one of the store warehouses, and it's the same vote. And that is the thing that makes this place so special, is that we all have that same right, regardless your background and how much money you have. And if folks want to save democracy, they want to bring civility back, we got to get this John Lewis Voting Rights Act. We got to get the other voting rights bills on the floor, voted, and to the president's desk. He's ready to sign it. We just need the Senate to act.
We've talked about in terms of what you're doing internally with the DNC when it comes to vendors. One of the issues that we have raised also, what happens in the federal government. I can tell you specifically what we have been raising with the White House from the beginning, dealing with Black-owned media contracts. The president put Susan Rice, a part of her portfolio is dealing with the issue of race equity as well. I can tell you, Jamie, when it came to the spending of COVID dollars, Black-owned media basically saw nothing. There was a study that was done 3 years ago that was initiated by Congresswoman Eleanor Holmes Norton that showed that the federal government spent over 5 years $1 billion in advertising. Black-owned media got $51 million. This is one of those issues that African Americans, not just those of us in Black-owned media, but in other areas as well. We saw this massive bill just passed. The question I asked every cabinet secretary, how are you going to ensure that Black-owned companies are able to get a piece of those deals, be able to get those contracts? What are you saying to the White House, but also Democrats in the House and the Senate, to say, y'all got to make sure that Black people who are the backbone of the Democratic Party, who drive the party, who you want votes, are participating in the economic resurgence and revival, especially when we saw 41% of Black-owned businesses go out of business during COVID.
Yeah. Well, Roland, I talked about this throughout COVID, the pain that Black businesses got. The pain that many of them couldn't even get the PPP loans early on in the initial rollout of the PPP loans because they didn't have relationships with some of the traditional banks. And so we have to understand, and I've had conversations with folks in the administration, and I know that members of the Congressional Black Caucus and the Tri-Caucus in general have had discussions about making sure that all folks, particularly communities of color, get their fair share of the proceeds that come out of this. That's really, really important. It is something that I'm doing in terms of what I can control at the DNC, making sure that our vendors, we are examining across the board at the DNC every contract that we have to make sure that we are working to make sure that the communities that support us are also benefiting from the expenditures that we have as an organization. That also has to happen in the federal government. And so, I will continue to make sure to speak to all of the members of the White House and the administration to push on that because it's the only right thing to do, and we have to do it.
And I would have just one more request, and that is when you talk about the various groups, yes, you only control the DNC. I think it would behoove Democrats, and I would love if you could call this meeting. It would be great if all these Democratic constituencies, like I say, DNC, DCCC, DSCC, Democratic Government Association, if there was a meeting with those folks where they met with our coalition of Black-owned media to ensure that resources are going to Black-owned media in the 2022 campaign season, because I can tell you with my experience in 2020, it is very difficult for a lot of our Black-owned media entities to be able to access the dollars. Let me just be very, very honest with you. These white ad agencies who control the money externally, they control these campaigns. They screw us over. They ignore us. They throw us not even pennies. It's more like half a penny. And so I think it would be great if there was a meeting in January where all these people were in the room. So you let me know. I'll bring the Black-owned media people. You bring the other people, and let's make it happen.
Let's make it happen. You got my commitment. We'll get this done.
All right.
First of the year.
All right, Jamie Harrison, I appreciate it. Thanks a bunch. Have a happy Thanksgiving.
You too, my friend. Take care now.
Take care. Bye-bye. All right, let's go to our panel. Lee, your thoughts on what you heard from Jamie Harrison?
Man, unfortunately, I'm a Democrat, so let me say that first. But it really just shows, man, that they really don't get it. We don't get it. Let me just include myself in terms of communicating with your constituency. Let's be real clear. Black folks showed up at the voting polls, at the ballot box. We showed up, and we have been consistently consistent supporters of the Democratic Party, the Democratic Party's agenda, etc. With the Democrats, I think one of the reasons why they don't really resonate with Black folk right now, and I'm a part of a very large coalition of Black pastors here in Georgia and around the country as well, and there's general consensus that no, the White House, the president, the Democratic Party is really not coming through where we're concerned. And it's primarily because there's this thought of the rising tide lifts all boats, which is absolutely true, right? You know, when everybody's doing good, everybody's doing good. Black folk are doing good. But the challenge is this: very rarely do we see distinctive legislation that is targeted at us, Black folk, which we say are of the highest priority. A voting legislation, the John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act, the Freedom to Vote Act, the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act, funding even in this infrastructure bill for HBCU started off at what, $45 billion?
No, that's not true. No, that story is absolutely false. We have debunked that story left and right. It did not start off at $45 billion. That was an erroneous story done by the Associated Press and done by Newsweek. We walked through the entire deal. And so there has been a dramatic increase over the last 18 months to HBCUs. And in fact, if you look at per pupil, the amount of money that HBCUs have gotten, they have gotten in terms of, on average, $25,000. In fact, some of these schools have actually gotten more money from the federal government in the last 18 months than their own states have given. Tennessee State, for example, has gotten more money from the federal government than the state of Tennessee has funded that state school. So that story is false.
Okay, I'll give you that. And I'm wrong on that. Okay, I'll give you that. You're the media. I'll give you that. But what I'm saying, my point is still there. It's still very clear that the feeling that we are getting more than talk is just challenging for me. Yeah, they know how to say the right things, right? But when it comes down to really putting their capital forward, their political capital forward, we're just not saying it. And so it sounds good. And I'm saying I believe, generally speaking, the administration is doing good. The Build Back Better, what's in that? The infrastructure bill, the America Rescue Plan. People are benefiting in very tough times there. So I will give you that. But I'm speaking specifically where African Americans are concerned, and I'm still really challenged.
I didn't get to hear all of Brother Harrison's comments, but I'll say I think a lot of times we see the same cycle of leveraging loyalty and then a letdown on the back end, and the letdown always comes alongside reasons that we're supposed to accept that Black people are getting the short end of the stick. And again, I don't want to speak unintelligently. I had to step away for part of his comments, but I know as a lifelong Democrat, especially a Democrat in Texas, that's kind of what I always expect. I expect that the rhetoric is far going to outseed the results. And I would hope that, going forward, we see better results with the legislation that's passed and with what measurable effects we see in the lives of Black people.
All right, folks, hold tight 1 second. Got to go to break. When we come back, we're going to talk about our marketplace segment brought to you by Verizon. We'll talk to an entrepreneur who is focused on getting young folks coding. That is next on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
Are the stars out tonight?
Alexa, play our favorite song again.
Okay.
I only have eyes for
Hey, I'm Donnie Simpson.
What's up? I'm Lance Gross, and you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
A lot of folks think coding is hard. Well, my next guest says, not really. It's all a matter of how you reach the folks who don't know. She has created this at-home coding kit called Lingo, which allows for your child to see what professionals are doing while moving at their own pace. Aisha Bose, a former NASA rocket scientist who created Lingo, and she joins me now from Washington, D.C. Aisha, glad to have you back on the show.
Hey, hi, Roland.
So big day for you because Lingo dropped what, in Target?
Yeah, as of today, we launched on Target and we're available on Walmart and Amazon.
So explain, so what really is Lingo? What is it? What does it do?
Lingo is a self-paced coding kit that teaches kids the fundamentals of computer science at home. And as an added bonus, it features culturally relevant role models because, Roland, I went through my entire education without ever being taught by a Black woman once. And so that's a central focus of Lingo. We want to expose students to computer science in a way that's not boring for a change, and to get them excited about a potential career by applying their knowledge to something they see every day, the backup noise you hear in a car.
So when you talk about that, you say as you go. So how long is it? So let's just say you get the kit, and how long will a child be ready to code? And we say code. What does that even mean? What are they actually doing?
So the Lingo kit includes self-paced online videos, which means that it doesn't require a parent in order for the student to complete the activities. So we hope that parents can actually maybe get some downtime, right? Go do something fun. Once the kit is open, what the students will do is learn the basics of how to put together code. This is exposure, Roland. So instead of asking you to just open the kit and magically know all of these things, we ask you to read the instructions, follow the videos as Danielle Regis, our product lead here at Lingo, instructs you through how to put together the exercise. In total, the activity takes about 4 hours and can be completed over the course of several days.
And so we again, we talk about coding. You and I were talking the other day, and how you were talking to some students in St. Louis, and you had them coding music.
Yeah, because everything that you hear is actually electronics. And so what I wanted to do was find a way to tie this concept to something that the students cared about. And they cared about music. With this Lingo kit, the first lesson teaches you how to put together that sensor for a car, but that same principle you can use to code your own music. And so once we finish the first activity, and the second activity is available on our learning portal now, we actually said, hey, well, now that you know how to do this, why don't you load up your favorite song? The kids were playing everything from Megan Thee Stallion to DaBaby and BTS within a matter of 3 days. And they were hooked. They've now gone on and further explored the music lesson. Some of them have even loaded their own music into the boards and are looking at how they can maybe become sound engineers.
All right, then. Questions from my panel. Matt, I'll start with you.
So the question I have for you, Ms. Bowie, is what do you find is the greatest impediment to access? Is it that people don't know how accessible coding can actually be and doable it can be? Or is it something else? Is it other institutional factors?
Well, for me, the greatest impediment was not knowing anything about the field. I started my degrees in aerospace engineering with pre-algebra in a community college. I didn't see any people who looked like me who were in the field, and I did not know that engineering was something that I could do, make a living at, and actually enjoy. And then when I went into the field, I didn't see the people around me actively recruiting people of color. And I had enough. I left the government in order to create this company because I wanted people of color to have this experience. I wanted students to go into a classroom and see somebody that looked like them. I wanted for them to get a box and have other people around them who may not be persons of color see somebody who looked like them teach the class, and have them realize that we exist in these fields too. And oh, by the way, the same techniques and tools that you learn in this box are the same ones that can make sure that you get paid for the rest of your life. I've seen studies that show that on average, it takes about 100 hours of exposure to coding or engineering concepts before you become an engineer. Well, guess what? There are a lot of students who are getting that in middle school. They're getting that in high school. Well, why can't our students have the same? And now with Lingo, you get that in a box. You get not only the first lesson, but you can learn music. And our third lesson ties sports and STEM together, which means now you're coding things that can help make you a better athlete or even understand how technology integrates with sports.
So I got some fool on YouTube named Mississippi who said, Black American people don't give a damn about coding. Can you explain why that's stupid to even say that? Mississippi.
Listen, I would beg to differ.
First of all, it's no surprise. First of all, the person their handle is Mississippi. So, I mean, when you look at the education ranking of Mississippi, that says a whole lot. But Aisha, go ahead.
Listen, I'm going to go ahead and beg to differ because I just got done teaching a class of 8th graders out in East St. Louis, and every single one of them walked away not only doing this kit, but wanting to learn more. I don't think it's that Black people don't care about coding. I think it's that the subject hasn't been taught to them in a way that was interesting. It took me until I was an adult to actually learn these things in a way that I thought was fun. And I just refuse for any more people to have that experience. So get a Lingo, explore Mississippi, and I think you'll find that not only do people care, but maybe you'll care too.
Lee.
Look, I love this, Aisha. I love the vision. I love your heart for people. I'm a pastor, and y'all know in the Bible it says, train up a child in the way that they should go, and when they're old, they won't depart from it. One of our challenges in all of this stuff, in educating our children and training up our children, isn't always the kids. Very rarely is the kids. It's the parents. How can you, like what you're doing, I'm sure you've thought it out because you already sound brilliant. How can we really almost like train the parent, to be able to train the child and get them connected so that they can get their kids interested in something like this?
Yeah, so that was one of the first things that we tackled when we created the box, because my team of engineers, most of whom are Black, did not have parents that could help us with the homework. So that was the first thing. We wanted to make sure that this allowed for us to teach our students. So we don't actually need the parents to finish these activities. The next piece is exposure. We have over 30 upward bound programs that are clients of Lingo. We are used by over 4,000 students in America right now in 6 countries internationally because we don't require the parents to invest in Lingo. And this is why when I was talking to Roland, I'm like, hey, look, I need you. I need your help because I am the only Black woman making educational product for middle school, high school, and university students right now that is sold in major retailers. And the majority of the people who we need to get this kit are our upward bound students. There are students who are in Mississippi, they're in Alabama, they're in Georgia, who by getting this kit, maybe they could do something a little bit different. And I'm not talking about going to college. I'm talking about learning something where you can make money at home. Because guess what? All those big tech companies, the Googles, the Twitters, the Facebooks, they didn't require that their employees have to even have a computer science degree. They just have to know how to code. So I refuse to allow us to get left out. I refuse to allow us to be in an environment where we don't see us anymore when we're engaging in these activities. And all I require is for the institutions, the organizations like the Bowie States, the Fayetteville States, who are working with us, the Southern universities who are working with us to push these kits into the hands of their students to work with us and to help.
All right, then. Again, tell folks where they can get Lingo. People are going to be, of course, they're going to be looking for Christmas gifts and birthday gifts, and so let them know.
Well, you can get Lingo on Target by typing in STEM Lingo Coding Kit, Walmart STEM Lingo Coding Kit as well, and also the same keywords on Amazon. If you'd like to get it directly from us, you can go to www.stemlingo.com in the bottom or hit me up on IG at Aisha. foe.
All right. Aisha, we appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Roland.
All right, then. All right, folks. We're going to end. First of all, let me thank Lee. First of all, let me thank y'all, first of all, for being with the panel. It was a great conversation that we had. And so I think Lee might be trying to go to law school now, Manning. So he might just want to, hit you up.
On that Roland Martin scholarship.
Yeah, he want to do that. So I want to thank both of y'all, but I'm going to do this here, y'all. I said I was going to play for y'all the news conference with Marilyn Mosby. She was hot today with the governor of Maryland. I was going to play some of that for y'all so you can see the steam that was coming out of her ears. So Governor Larry Hogan, he has been attacking her for the last several years, saying that she wasn't doing enough to end violent crime in Baltimore, even telling the Democratic Attorney General to take over cases in her jurisdiction. Well, he did it again today, and she's like, you know what? I got some words for you, Governor. Check this out.
Governor. For the past 7 years, just like Donald Trump, Larry Hogan has used Baltimore City as a punching bag. He's attacked me, he's attacked all 4 mayors, he's attacked all 5 commissioners, police commissioners. And quite candidly, he's been more concerned with pointing the finger at everyone else as opposed to actually leading and delivering for a city that is the heartbeat of this state. Just as he's done in the past, today's press conference was a political stunt with no basis whatsoever to call me or my office out. I want to be clear that as state's attorney for Baltimore City, I've never said that I would not prosecute violent offenders or violent crime in the city of Baltimore. Every day, my talented prosecutors, which are being recruited by others, including the Attorney General and other counties all across the state, are committed to working with the Baltimore Police Department to ensure accountability against individuals that wreak havoc in our communities. Had the governor set aside his philosophical differences and chosen to meet or even to talk to me, I would have been happy to show him the data that he's now making contingent on my office's funding. In fact, a great deal of the information that the governor is seeking is already published on my website. We went through this same unproductive exchange and exercise 2 years ago when my office debunked the misinformation that the governor was perpetuating in our letter to the Senate President Ferguson. And now coming out of a global pandemic where the courts have literally been non-operational for a year and a half. In the past 6 months, my prosecutors are diligently working through the massive case backlogs, and yet they are still producing. To date, our data, which we publish every month on our website, since the reopening of the courts just this year, my office has had an overall 97% conviction rate. Our homicide unit, we have had 18 guilties, only 3 not guilties. That's an 86% conviction rate. Our felony division, 187 guilties, 8 not guilties. That's a 96% felony conviction rate. Our gun violence enforcement division, 136 guilties, 7 not guilties, 95% conviction rate. Our narcotics unit, 375 guilties, 3 not guilties, 99% conviction rate. My attorneys, since the beginning of this year, have indicted over 123 homicides, 591 felonies. Our gun violence enforcement division, when we talk about getting guns off the streets of Baltimore, they have had 335 indictments. Our narcotics unit has had 866 indictments. I tell you this today because I stand by the work of my office. I'll provide the governor anything he desires because I know how much my prosecutors do for this city. Just this week, James Phillips was found guilty of 2 counts of assault in the first degree, 2 counts of use of a firearm in the commission of a crime of violence and associated charges. He was sentenced to 35 years in prison following his August 19th conviction. Phillips shot and struck 2 brothers on Bel Air Road outside of the deli after an altercation occurred inside the store. Just yesterday, Ward Alston 46 years old, pled guilty to second-degree rape of a 14-year-old girl and was sentenced to 20 years, suspended over 12 years and 5 years probation. Alston followed the teen from a train station near Mondawmin to her bus, got off at her bus stop to pull her into an alley and to rape her. My prosecutors work every single day. And for the governor to come out today and say that my prosecutors, they don't do their jobs, that they don't prosecute violent criminals, that they don't sweat blood and tears for the safety of everyone in this city is a disgraceful lie. My prosecutors take violent crime seriously, and so do I.
You got the sense that she's a little pissed with the governor?
Understatement. She is razor sharp. And what we see Hogan playing politics. There was actually a commission called the Criminal Justice Coordinating Council that was in place until 2017 when Hogan defunded it, that was intended to, serve this exact purpose, to curb crime in the city of Baltimore. So it's about performative politics. It's not about anything else but trying to knock Marilyn Mosby down, and we know that he ain't gonna do that because she's strong as they come.
I heard a lot of receipts there, Lee.
Ooh, boy, was she, ooh, and that was boiling. That had been simmering for a while, and then that thing boiled over. I know Marilyn, and you don't play with her. Don't play with her. And what I loved about it is she came back. She was intense. She was passionate. But she came back with facts. She's talking about her close rates and the number of cases and all of that. I love it, And when you're dealing with the law, I'm telling you, man, let the politics go, man. Let's just deal with justice. And we know, unfortunately, too often times justice is not the leading factor in so much of this. It's racially motivated, it's politically motivated, and things like that. But go on, Sister Mosby. I appreciate your passion.
Indeed. All right, folks. So we out of time, but here's the deal. We're going to restream her whole news conference. And so for y'all, if y'all want to see the whole deal, I mean, she was on fire. And so we're going to restream the entire news conference right here on Roland Martin Unfiltered in the Black Star Network. Again, Matt and Lee, I certainly appreciate it. Thanks a lot. Hey, folks, tomorrow we do not have a Roland Martin Unfiltered, but I got a treat for you. We're launching, of course, you all know with the Black Star Network, we're launching multiple shows, okay? And so tomorrow, we're going to premiere Rolling with Roland, my 1-hour interview show where we're talking to all kinds of different fascinating people. We're going to launch it with Johnny Gill. A lot of y'all saw New Edition at the American Music Awards. And so this is just a sneak peek. The question I asked him was, did y'all ever have somebody who insisted on closing the show and making y'all go on in front of them? He said, yeah, Brian McKnight did that, and it didn't end so well. This is what Johnny Gill had to say.
I'm about to give you something that's going to put you in that. You're going to remember this.
Yeah, we was on tour. So Brian wanted to be the headliner. Now, you're headliner with New Edition. So we're like, okay, you want to be a headliner? Not a problem.
Since you think you big, that big and bad? Okay.
Yeah. And I'll never forget one night we, two of the guys, the driver got lost. I think it was Westbury we were playing. And I'll never forget, they asked him if he didn't mind going on first, and we would close out. And they came back and he said, no. I'll give him his prop. He took it like a man. It was rough out there. By the time he would come out, you could hear echoes.
Wow. Y'all, again, Rolling with Roland, powered by Verizon. That is going to air tomorrow right here on Roland Martin Unfiltered in this time slot. Y'all, it's a fascinating conversation, and wait until the end of it, where Johnny talks about two things that he always wanted to do in his career he has not yet done. Yeah, I hooked him up with something. Y'all got to watch the interview. You're going to love it. I'm telling you. And so you're going to absolutely love it. All right, we're going to end the show with this here. I saw this today on social media, and I said I got to do it. So Jennifer Hudson posted this video. She said she was walking. I don't know whether she was in California or Hawaii somewhere. She was walking on the beach, and she stopped, and this guy was playing a guitar. She said it was this beautiful music. But then he announced that the last song he was going to play was the song Hallelujah. Jennifer Hudson said that's one of her favorites. And so here you have the street musician who all of a sudden got to play and sing with Oscar NAACP Image Award winner, Jennifer Hudson. Watch.
I know there's a God above, but all I ever learned from love is how to shoot somebody who overdrew you. And it's not a cry to hear it. It's not somebody saying the light. It's a part of me, a broken
That is great there. You hear Jennifer Hudson in the video. She talked about how she said, I heard this music and she was like, I just had to stop. So great video there, folks. Certainly hope you guys enjoy Thanksgiving, spend the time with the family. I'm headed to Houston tomorrow. And again, Friday, we're going to see you in New Orleans at the Bayou Classic. Simply set your notifications on the Black Star Network and YouTube. So when we go live, you don't know we're going to go live, absolutely do it. And don't forget, halftime. Tell everybody, don't worry about them not showing a halftime show on television. We're going to stream the entire halftime show between Grambling State and Southern right here on the Black Star Network. You don't want to miss that. So download the app, folks. All the platforms, Apple phone, Android phone, Apple TV, Android TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Xbox Smart TV. Download it all. Tell everybody this is how we do it. And also, please support us in what we do because, look, it costs to go down there. And so when you join our Bring the Funk fan club, your resources go to make all this possible. Cash App, $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is /R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. And we are almost done with our studio, folks. I mean, we're almost done. I'm telling you, almost done. And so do this here. Hey, Henry, give me a wide shot. Give me a wide shot. Zoom it all out. And so y'all see what we've done. Of course, with our screen, we added some columns here with some awards and stuff along those lines. You see the Colin Kaepernick piece. Pan it left. You see this. We were in Chicago. We saw that great mural. And so we added this huge mural called Love. And so we added that mural to the show as well. It goes great with the art pieces here of Leroy Campbell. And you see the little corner of the green screen. No, pan back. That green screen was a black-owned drape company. Remember we had them do the marketplace segment? Well, they hooked us up and built that. So I can't wait to show y'all the rest, y'all. It's gonna blow you away when y'all see the rest of the studio. It is absolutely phenomenal, so I can't wait. Enjoy the Thanksgiving holiday, folks. I'll see y'all again Friday, back in studio, Monday, Roland Martin Unfiltered. I look forward to seeing all my alphas in New Orleans and the family as well. Y'all know how we do it. Holla! Where are you?